Rightio, there we are on. Sarah Kelt, welcome to the Luke Farr Show, a show to motivate, educate and inspire our next generation of leaders. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great. Looking forward to a nice, robust, comprehensive discussion, very candid chat, all for the purpose of educating anyone out there.
Nice.
I guess first things first, always good to give some context around the guest. I mean, you lived abroad for 22 years across London and in Dubai, working in investment banking. Yeah, you ultimately got burnt out and suffered bouts of anxiety and depression. I mean, firstly, like knowing what you know now, what are some of the things that you would tell yourself back then?
A lot. I think. Well, probably one of the most significant lessons that I teach my clients now is the importance of having balance in our lives. I think we are all programmed and conditioned or raised to believe that we have to push, drive, hustle, strive, and just go all the time. There is like so much pressure that we put on ourselves to do more, be more, and have more. And obviously I was completely sucked into that zone. And that's kind of why we all end in burnout like I did, you know, just constantly on the go, putting so much pressure on ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, which is a good thing, but there's not enough balance in our lives. We lose sight of the fact that actually being present and having that balance and stillness in our lives gives us the opportunity to enjoy our lives and avoid burnout. So many people are living in just constant stress with their work, with money, with their family, with their children, and just with all the balls in the air that we tend to need to have or think that we have to have. So just having that balance and giving yourself an opportunity to enjoy the journey of life. One of the things I used to say to myself at the beginning of every year when I was investment banking was like, this year I'm going to stop and smell the roses. And I didn't really even know what that meant, but I just knew I kind of had to slow down in a way. But when you really think about the concept of stopping to smell the roses, it's like really just the process of being present and taking the time to, when you're on a walk, look at the rose and see the magnificent beauty of it and the intricate detail and the fragrance and being present and taking that time to be still.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can resonate with that now. I mean, making a cup of tea has never been so cathartic and present, because you have to slow it all down. Usually you're just speeding through those everyday tasks when you're fully mobile. And so, that is different. I mean, look, just tracking back though, what was your ultimate driver back then? Was it purely money related or?
Well, yeah, I suppose
What were you?
It was a big driving factor. Pardon me?
Were you earning quite big bucks?
I was earning pretty good bucks. Yeah, I was. Yeah, and obviously, like once you get kind of, look, I came from, I'm a country girl, born and raised on a farm and raised in the King country, and I was like, I didn't want to be doing that with my life, and so the driver was to have financial security and be, wealthy, I suppose, which is what we all want because money gives us freedom. And so, I got into investment banking. I was, very driven. I wanted to do well. I come from a family of we're all pretty driven people. So the money was a big part of it, but also I suppose the kudos of, being a female on a trading floor in London, back in the early 2000s, there weren't many females in revenue generating positions.
That's a podcast in itself, Sarah. Yeah,
it is.
We're going to talk about David. We could touch on that a little bit, but I understand where you're going with that.
Yeah. So it was quite a big deal, I suppose. I mean, I don't think I really recognized it at the time, but now I reflect back, it's like, it was quite cool what I did. But that's kind of where my anxiety and things began in full earnest because it was intense, really full on.
That's interesting, isn't it? So like nothing in your childhood, no sort of situations that were anxiety provoking or anything like that. Never suffered any of that until the burnout.
Yeah. So interestingly, I used to reflect a lot on that. I've come from a really wonderful family. My parents were awesome. I don't have any significant childhood trauma or horrible things. I mean, obviously there was a few things along the way. My dad did break his neck when I was about 10, and that was a pretty significant thing. So there were definitely, things that happened in my life that were not nice. But I wasn't abused. I don't have horrible things that have happened to me. But I did, along the way, I have questioned, why have I been so anxious? One thing that I do understand about myself is that when I was little, I had very red cheeks, rosy red cheeks. My name was Pinks. Everyone called me Pinks. And I hated my red cheeks. It was a cute, endearing name, but I hated my red cheeks. And
was it because you were just nervous all the time, or?
No, I wasn't. I just had red cheeks. They just were red, like really rosy. And then when I got nervous or embarrassed, they were even redder. In fact, my whole face was like a beetroot. Wow. It was a horrible.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, Pinks. Sorry.
I know. It was. Because of it, I was so conscious of it. I hated the way I looked because of it. And so
it would have been awful.
Yeah, it really impacted my sense of self-worth. And what I know now is, with the work that I do and my journey through all this stuff, is that underneath these problems that we develop, or symptoms like anxiety, depression, addiction, 99.9% of the time, the root cause of those problems is low self-worth or feeling like you're not good enough. And so that was kind of like the thing that drove my lack of self-worth. And obviously then you develop these exhausting patterns of behavior to prove your worth, which is probably contributing to me wanting to be the investment banker in London. But yeah, so no trauma for me, but that was a significant thing that I'm completely at peace with now. It wasn't a bad thing, but it was just what it was. And it was my perception of, how I was.
Yeah. And most likely, I'm no doctor, but not a medical term, it's probably just a capillary issue. I mean, I'm probably asking a question on most of the brains of the audience out there. Have the pink cheeks stopped?
Yeah, no, look, pretty much. I'm kind of, just normal now. I mean, obviously sometimes I get embarrassed and I get a bit red, but no, like my mum had really red cheeks.
Right. So it runs through the family.
So it kind of runs through the family. It's just like a high color. I mean, she calls it high color. I call it awful red cheeks. But anyway, so I've got 3 kids, and my 2 boys, when they play sport and stuff, they get the rosy red cheeks as well. It's not as bad as I was, but yeah, it's just like
oh wow, that is fascinating. There we go. Hey, genetics do play a part in this.
They do. Yes.
That's classic. Just a quick segue though. There's no your father wasn't in the racing. No, it's not nothing to do with Kelt Capital. No,
so that's my father's family, but his cousins.
Oh, okay, right.
Yep,
gotcha.
Yep.
Oh, very good. Rightio, fantastic. Let's I want to segue into just a little bit about what you do. I mean, for the audience especially. So you run mindset transformations, right?
Yeah.
What do you do exactly? I guess we'll start there.
So I'll throw out some technical terms, which sounds really So I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and an advanced rapid transformational therapist, as well as a wellness and mindset coach. And so I use those modalities to help people understand themselves and take action to make change to get themselves out of the rut they find themselves in. So I kind of call it a rut. So I specialize in helping people with anxiety, depression, and addiction. And so I work with people one-on-one, and I have group programs where we use hypnotherapy, which is incredibly powerful. I cannot put enough emphasis on the power of the subconscious mind. And hypnotherapy is where we work with the subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is where 90% of your memories, your belief systems, and your emotions are stored. It is the program that runs all the conscious thoughts, habits, and behaviors. It is like the gatekeeper. Traditional therapy, we're just having a conversation like this. This is at the conscious level. So when you're talking, it's kind of like, you're trying to understand and shift perspectives and things. In an RTT session, so RTT is a specific kind of hypnotherapy, which uses, obviously, hypnosis, so you're in a relaxed state, a suggestible brainwave state. We use principles of NLP, CBT, and psychotherapy. So it's a very specific process where we're there for which is to understand the root cause of the presenting problem. So let's say it's anxiety. There's a reason you've developed anxiety. We don't just get anxiety. Your subconscious mind knows where the anxiety has come from. And it comes from the experiences we have during the course of our lives. The experiences we have cause us to have feelings. The feelings create the beliefs create the internal dialogue, which then create the patterns of behavior. So in the hypnotherapy session, the RTT session, I take my client through very specific processes. We do lots of talking, so they get this very profound understanding at a very granular level of the root cause of where the anxiety, the specific scenarios, memories, events that cause them to have these feelings which have created the beliefs. And that in of itself, I describe it as magic, because it's kind of like you make so much sense of yourself, because at the conscious level, we're like, why am I like this? I know I don't want to be anxious, but I can't stop this pattern of behavior that's making me, or drinking, for example. I know I don't want to be drinking alcohol. It's not good for me, but I can't stop. Why can't I stop? And then we understand the why. And that wisdom is so powerful. So in the session, you get this very profound understanding of the root cause of why you've become the way you are. Then we go through a bunch of healing and empowering processes. We do emotional wound healing, inner child work, whatever I feel is relevant to that particular client. And then I make a hypnosis rewiring recording for them to listen to. So it's about a 20 minutes, like a meditation, but it's a rewiring hypnosis recording. So we use a firm tone, we use a fast pace, I say their name a lot, I use really powerful positive language, because what we want to do is retrain those subconscious pathways to believe new beliefs and think new thoughts and have new behaviors. So it's kind of like neuroplasticity. You can change your mind, subconscious and conscious. So then from there, the client needs to listen to the recording every day to reprogram those beliefs, habits, and behaviors. And then the coaching side of what I do, the wellness and the mindset coaching, is where we take action. Now we understand the parts of us that are not working for us, how we think, how we behave, how we feel. We must take action in order to have transformation, right? If you just know what it is, then great. What am I going to do about it to actually change how I'm being? So that's the coaching part. So the wellness side is mental, emotional, and physical. They are all closely correlated. When we're mentally, emotionally, physically well, we get to be happy and enjoy the life that we get to live. So I teach my clients a process around how to retrain their conscious mind to think better thoughts. So the conscious mind thinks the thoughts that come from the subconscious, right? The programming of the subconscious. But we need to be aware of these thoughts, because the thoughts and the pictures we create in our mind create the reality that we live in, right? Every thought we think, our body reacts to, because our body thinks that what we're thinking about is the reality now. So which is why when you're having anxiety, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but it's a very real yeah, it's like racy heart, sweaty palms, going red, feel like your heart's gonna jump out of your chest, you can't breathe. That is because whatever you're thinking about, like whether it's doing a presentation, or some people just get anxious going to the supermarket, but the thoughts are actually creating the anxiety before you've even got to the event.
So do thoughts create feelings, and do feelings create emotions, obviously, on a logical... Yes,
exactly. Well, feelings and emotions are pretty much, emotion is feeling in motion, really. Yeah.
Right.
So
what's RTT doing exactly on a subconscious level?
So RTT is the process of the hypnosis that I take people through. So that's the specific kind of hypnosis that I practice. So it means rapid transformational therapy. So that's where we understand the root cause of the presenting problem, and then we make changes to the beliefs that you've formed and shift perspectives of what the belief was that you formed back then. Usually when we're children, that's when it starts. And we kind of unravel the mess that and change it. Yeah.
Right. And so how's RTT different to CBT? And for the people out there, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah. So with RTT, I use principles of CBT. So with the repetition and the listening to the recording and the things that we do at the conscious level, we're using principles of CBT within RTT. Yeah.
Interesting. So very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's like, honestly, every session I do is just so incredibly fascinating. I love every session that I get to do, but I also love the fact that my clients just get such profound understanding of this. It's kind of like, it's almost like you can visibly see the weight of the world being lifted off their shoulders, because it's like I get it. I understand myself, and now I know what I need to do to help myself.
Yeah. That unblocked feeling is phenomenal. I mean, anecdotally, I've experienced it. I remember doing a session with a therapist about 10 years ago when I was suffering serious panic attacks and anxiety, and it is a remarkable feeling. And you just explain it. So you literally just it's like you feel like a feather. That's how light everything, and everything's so good again.
Yeah, totally.
It is.
Yeah. So each I say that each RTT session is almost like doing a year's worth of therapy in 2.5 hours. The sessions are pretty intense. They take 2.5 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours. They're often very emotional, because when you're in hypnosis, it's like your conscious mind is in the background, right? Your conscious mind is normally here. Your conscious mind is judgment and ego. But when your conscious mind is in the background, it's on the go slow. When I'm asking questions and taking you through the processes, because it's not as present, we're going to get the really juicy, vulnerable answers, which is, and therefore often the emotion comes out as well. It's not, it's a good thing, and especially Kiwi men are very good at not expressing their feelings.
Whoa, shots fired here on the Luke Farr show from Sarah Kelt. No, I agree though. If we were to compare ourselves to other men globally, we aren't exactly the best at expressing our emotions.
And I like that is those feelings that we don't process, and women don't as well, but they generally are. It's more socially acceptable for us to have a good cry or feel sad or whatever, but men just suck it up, carry on, move on, suck it up. And those feelings don't go anywhere. They literally fester inside of us until the point where your little nervous system, immune system, your physical body, because we hold it in our body, cannot handle anymore, which is when the symptoms of anxiety, depression, addiction, and other stuff, chronic sickness, chronic illness, develop. So feeling your feelings and expressing your feelings and understanding your feelings and acknowledging the fact that you've got feelings because you're a human and you're meant to have feelings is a really important part of the healing process. Doesn't mean you have to be a big crybaby, but just acknowledging that,
No, I guarantee people that cry more than someone that doesn't cry, I guarantee they probably feel a lot lighter because they're releasing the emotions, aren't they? And I mean, totally. that leads me to my next question, which is an unplanned question actually, but this is the beauty of a chat show. But so if you're crying on a regular basis, which is an expression and a physical release of all of that emotion, is there and when I track back into all of the emotions that started anyway, which would build things like cortisol and the stress hormones, are tears, and if someone was to actually take your tears to a lab, is there cortisol in your tears?
Well, the process of crying creates serotonin, the happy hormone.
Right.
Yeah, but just the physical experience of is like the release of the emotion, the tension, the hurt, the whatever it is that you're letting go of. It is a cathartic. It's a good thing to do.
So, Sarah, I'm so sorry. Maybe I've got to cure it. Just wait there for 2 seconds. I'll keep this going. Sorry, I'll just need to get the buzzer on the lock.
Yeah,
sorry.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, just buzz up and can you come up to 3A, please? Yes, please. Up to just so push the door. And it's 3A. Thanks, man. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, Sarah.
No worries. It's all good.
Coming on back on. I guess for the although we can edit this, but yeah, for the audio, you might as well just do we can flip into an and right now. Of that. Hopefully he doesn't need me to sign. I'll just tell him to drop it. How long was that? 30 seconds?
No idea.
No, you weren't counting. What were you doing? Were you just looking at yourself and just checking? Yeah, were you doing a mirror check?
No, my eyesight's not that good. I can't see myself. It's all blurry. Getting old.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Fine, but I just can't. I'm the little one in the corner.
It's so good. Oh yeah, just drop it anywhere in there, mate. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Rightio. Proudly sponsored by NZ Couriers, ladies and gentlemen. back to the show. We were talking about tears and things. One thing that comes to mind, like, where are everyone's self-beliefs actually coming from?
From the experiences we have in life. So let's say, use me for an example, being the little girl with the red cheek who got really embarrassed a lot. So having an experience like at school where I got embarrassed, dropped something. I didn't have to do much to feel embarrassed. The feeling I had was, oh my gosh, everyone's looking at me. Oh my gosh, my cheeks are so red. And as soon as I notice that my cheeks are red, my cheeks get redder. I feel like I don't belong here. I'm different. Everyone's looking at me and laughing at me because I'm ugly, right? Those feelings cause me to form a belief, like there's something wrong with me. I'm ugly, let's say, for example. So the beliefs come from the feelings of the experiences we have during the course of our lives. Once we form a belief, your mind wants to prove to you that the belief you've formed is correct. It wants to prove that you're right. So then it will continue to seek evidence in your life that the belief you've formed that you're not good enough, or that you're ugly, or that you're different is correct. So you'll seek evidence in different scenarios. And of course, when you feel like that about yourself, the way you present yourself, or the energy you give, like, I mean, even especially children, like if you feel like you're different and you don't fit in, you give off this energy, right? It's like, oh, I don't belong. I'm not sure if I should be here. I'm shy. I don't know what to say, right? And then, of course, people receiving that energy, you kind of like, people don't want to, or just be kids and adults don't want to come and talk to you because they think you look awkward and they don't know what to say to you. And then, of course, me receiving that is like, oh, no one, I'm standing there alone. No one wants to come and talk to me. I really am different. No one really does like me. I really must be. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So the thought.
And that's interesting too, because when you break down, when you watch and witness the interaction between a human and an animal, right? If you're very hesitant, shy, awkward, and the dog is feeling that emotion, yes, what does the dog generally do and how they react? Yeah, they either run away or they bark at you.
Yeah.
Versus the complete flip side, when you go over to an animal with full positive energy, full confidence, and you're petting them, they absolutely love you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but that scenario of, like, people can really understand that when you go to a place with that energy, well, the shy energy or the I'm not good enough energy coming out, you can relate to that because everyone's had that experience, right? Or you can notice when you go next to a place, you can see that person, and actually the best thing you could do to that person is go and say, hey mate, how are you? What's going on? How's your day? Right? Because they're so awkward within themselves. But yeah, energy, we don't think about energy, we're not conscious of it, but it is constantly talking to us all.
Yeah, is it true that energy flows where your mind goes, or around the other way?
Yeah, where focus goes, energy flows.
Right. There we go. Yeah. There it is.
So and like the positive and the negative. If you're constantly thinking negative things and thinking the worst case scenario, then that's basically the outcome that you're going to get. If you're focused on the positive, you're going to find the positive, you're going to give out that positive energy. It's like all good. Then that's the experience you're going to have.
Does that apply to dating and picking a man or woman up at a bar, for example? It probably would, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously you've got to have your
thoughts do become things, right? It's like, so you take two scenarios. You take a really negative girl or man that's going out and trying to talk or, get to know their counterparts. If they're in a negative state, they're only going to get negative outcomes and results, right?
Totally. Well, especially like when you're drinking, the alcohol or even drugs. I work with lots of people who have terrible experiences taking drugs. And it's like whatever mood you're in, wherever you're at before you drink the alcohol or take the drugs, it's only going to enhance that mood, right? And so when people aren't in a good headspace and they take the drugs or drink the drink because they think it's going to help them, and actually they have a terrible time, or lots of people drink and cry more, it just exacerbates and enhances where you're at. Yeah.
I've heard it takes a matter of minutes to literally transition from sympathetic to parasympathetic, or even vice versa, like with the right tools. Like, what can you break us down, like for the audience, like what's happening on a physiological level exactly?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, so if we're going from either sympathetic to parasympathetic, right, which either from fight or flight response into rest and digest and relax.
Yeah.
Like if we can, after doing some research, we can, and human brains and bodies are designed to flip in and out of those modes in such a quick time frame.
Yes.
But what is, and I imagine that's only happening to the people that have the tools at their disposal.
Exactly.
Right.
And
or seeing people like you, or building up those little anchor tools in your tool belt to enable someone to get out of that fight, flight, and go back into a meditative state. But I'm trying to understand, like, what's actually happening on that physiological level. Is it, there must be some serious
the cortisol being released, so then you've got that racing through your veins, and then that puts you more into, so everything's on fast forward, so the mind races more, and then the body reacts to all the thoughts we're thinking. But the fastest way to get out of fight or flight and into calm and presence is with your breath. Your breath is a superpower as much as your mind is, and most people don't understand the significance of their breath, because when we are in that fight or flight state, and actually most people live in a high sense of stress all the time, so we end up taking short, sharp, shallow breaths because we're rushing, racing, pushing, striving all the time. When we take a short, sharp, shallow breath, I mean, that's a bit exaggerated. It's not exactly, but some people, like you only use like 20.
You've really mastered that.
Off your lungs. I've done it a lot of times. Demonstrate. But when we're breathing like that, we're signaling to our body that we're not safe. That's what fight or flight is, right? Like, got to get out of here. I'm not safe. So therefore, there's cortisol is released, and therefore we feel unsafe. So the mind is racing and the body is reacting, and we are in fight or flight. The fastest way, exactly. I was thinking, taking a big breath now. The fastest way.
Well, I'm actually doing it. Yeah, I'm trying to do it as I'm listening to you, or actively listening, and then diaphragm. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where we breathe into our belly, lift up our diaphragm and into our lungs. So long, slow, deep breath in, and you can do some holds and then breathe out slowly and hold. That process literally, and you have to do it a few times, but it resets your nervous system. It oxygenates your body, which is what your body really needs. Like, most of us aren't well oxygenated. But also that process is just giving yourself the opportunity to be present. When we're anxious, nervous, scared, overwhelmed, we're not present. We're in another time zone, right?
So we're less oxygenated when we are breathing faster.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, much more. So the long, deep breath. So when you take that long, slow, deep breath, you're signaling to your body that you are safe. You can't do that, like back to our caveman DNA. You can't do that if you've got to run from the saber-toothed tiger. You're not going to take a nice, long, slow, deep breath. That's what fight or flight's meant to be for, right? But the way our society has evolved, it's like we're always in fight or flight because there's this, that, and the next thing, and all the balls and all the stress and all the mind and all the, right? So using your breath, and that's like one of the most simple practices I teach, the more often during the day you can just take a few moments to do some deep belly breathing. The more you feel in your body, the more oxygenated you are, the more you slow everything down.
And the benefits of purely nostril breathing, hence why a lot of those athletes wear the tape around their mouth.
Yeah.
The mouth breathing is obviously
there's a reason, there's even a filtration system through our nostrils and things, but like sometimes we have blocked noses, and if you find it hard to nostril breathe, don't force yourself to do it. Just breathe, just get the air in. But yes, nostril breathing is
we don't want people fainting, no.
No. Nostril breathing is beneficial if you can, but I can't do it all the time either. Sometimes it just feels better to just use your mouth. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We alluded to it earlier, and it was a topic of conversation which I'm looking forward to talking to. But let's talk about alcohol. The whole global, the whole world loves a drink. Alcohol is very much embedded in our society.
Oh, yes.
Let's just start with, why are people gravitating towards this drug so heavily? Is it simply the fact that, yes, it's a sedative, it's releasing dopamine in their brain? Why is this drug so popular? But let's just park the fact that it's so readily available and heavily marketed. Let's just talk about the drug itself. Even if it was illegal, I'm sure people will try to find it. But what is alcohol like? Why are people enjoying it so much?
Because it's a sense of release and escape. To numb the feelings, to numb the chatter, to numb the sensations of anxiety, of stress. Like, like you're going to get home and you're going to have that glass of wine or those 2 beers, and like literally the stress of the day will have washed itself away. It's just
how's it doing that? Like, how is it doing that? What's it?
Well, just calming everything down. It just calms the nervous system down. I mean, it actually does. Is it
the dopamine doing that? The dopamine releases from the alcohol, right?
Yeah. Momentarily it does, but then obviously alcohol creates more anxiety. It creates more stress. It creates whatever mood you're in. Like we said before, it's going to make you more depressed or sad or angry or upset. But it's so easily accessible. It's so socially acceptable, and so many people drink in an unhealthy way. It's unhealthy and destructive, or they're not in control with alcohol, whether that's binge drinking or just like having to get home and have those, bottle of wine. A lot of people drink a bottle of wine, 2 bottles of wine every night. And they just kind of stuck.
Is that right? Is that on average here in New Zealand? Would a human do on average maybe 2 bottles of wine for themselves, which is about 16 standard drinks?
That's a lot. Like a day. Like that's a lot. A lot of people come to me who are drinking 1 bottle of wine a day. Some people are drinking 2 bottles of wine. 2 bottles of wine is a significant amount of alcohol every day. A bottle of wine is a lot. But you think about all the sugars. That's just so bad for every part of you.
So there's 8 standard drinks in a bottle, right? So if someone's doubling it, so if they're doing 16 standard drinks a day, wow, that is a significant amount, right?
Yeah.
And what is so that's interesting when we're talking about that coexistence there, because you were mentioning that alcohol also, creates stress, creates anxiety, creates that depression. Well, we know it's self-loathing, but then on that flip side of it, releasing dopamine, which is technically a feel-good hormone. How the hell are those two at the same party?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, alcohol is, but also the association of alcohol is fun, is good times, connection. That's another part of it, right? Oh, confidence. In the RTT session, when we really understand the root cause of why this person's become dependent on alcohol, what we understand is, a lot of times it's to give me confidence. It's that sense of release and escape. It's the fun factor. But then once you have that fun factor and you have this association that I'm the life and soul of the party, then you kind of live into that identity, and then it's even harder to step away from it, because people expect you to be drinking with them and expect you to be fun. And it's like, well, what if I'm not fun? And so there's like the mindset around it all is so a contributing factor to keeping you stuck in it. But when you're in it, it's kind of like you drink to numb the feelings and to numb the self-loathing, and because you're stressed and because you, are bored or whatever. And then you have a bad sleep and you wake up the next morning and you're back in that, I've done it again. I don't like myself. I'm not going to do it today. Why can't I stop, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go through the day. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's 4 o'clock. It's like, stuff it. I'm doing it because I don't know what else to do to help myself get out of this space.
Very, very vicious cycle, isn't it?
Very vicious cycle. Yeah.
And I have heard, geez, what is it with deliveries today? Jeez, can you wait there for 2 minutes? I'm so sorry. This is
Okay.
really, jeez. I literally planned for them to come Friday. I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. Hello. Yes, come on up, please. Thank you. Thanks. Sheesh, I owe you, Sarah. Wow, I'll send you a box of roses to put up with that. That's
So good.
two in one session. Anyhow, yeah.
Doing a lot
So
of shopping, huh?
yeah.
Do you have an addiction, Luke?
Well,
Can I help with that?
I've been caught literally red-handed here. Yeah, booze. So with
booze.
I've heard that after doing a couple of researches on this, that if you were to be a heavy drinker before the age of 18, you were somewhat 70% more likely to become an alcoholic in your adult life.
Wow.
And has that got anything to do with just the fact that like our prefrontal cortex and everything happening, we don't develop that adult brain until I think it's 20, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, what's happening there, do you think?
Oh, look, I think, again, it's the association, it's the conditioning, it's the programming. It's like what you know helps you have confidence, have that sense of relief, connect with your friends, etc. And obviously, as life gets more stressful and more difficult as we get older, it's just the easy go-to. No one asks to be an alcoholic. No one gets out to do
absolutely
that, right?
not. No, I don't think they're sitting there at the age of 15 with their teacher and
right,
saying, well, what do you want to be when you go on? Well, I cannot wait to become an alcoholic. I'm just really excited about
it on you, and then before you know it, you're in it, and then you don't know how to get out of it. But it absolutely is possible to get out of it, and it's like, well, when you're doing hypnosis and changing at the subconscious level, like that makes it easy. The whole point of my program is to support you to make it easy for yourself to, whether it's an anxiety, addiction, or depression. But when we're changing at the subconscious level, it makes it easier to change at the conscious level. As I said, I talked about the gatekeeper, right? The subconscious mind. So when I have my check-ins with my clients after, and I had one this morning, she's like, because we specifically talked about wine, and she was drinking, but also wine was her go-to, and she goes, I'm really pleased we put wine into the thing, because I had a bottle of non-alcoholic wine in my fridge, and I went to thought I'll just have some. She's like, oh, I don't even want it because it's wine. Like, that's how powerful that's how it happens. And so most people report back to me that this process of giving up the alcohol has been so much easier than they thought it was going to be. And a lot of times the fear of it being hard is what holds people back from actually taking the step to make the change, because it's like, it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to white knuckle it every day. It's going to be, who am I going to be without alcohol? Alcohol's my friend. How am I going to manage and cope? Like, what am I going to do if I'm not drinking? And obviously that's stuff I teach in the program. But that is the power of the subconscious mind, where we make changes to that, and it literally makes it a whole lot easier. I'm not saying you don't have to have some willpower, and you have to have the desire to want to change, but it's a much easier process.
Would it be fair to say, and just generalizing here, but majority of alcoholics simply have a very big lack of purpose in life, limited direction, no one around them that really loves them and admires them?
No.
Is that not fair to say? No.
Maybe like this super down and out, absolutely broken person who's lost everything, then yeah, but no. There are so many different levels of alcoholism, and I don't even, I like to say you're sort of just not in control with alcohol, but no, like most people that I work with have good jobs, have loving families. Like, yes, they've got stress, and yes, there might have been some emotional wounds and traumas from the past, but no, they don't. What they lack actually is connection with themselves and a sense of worth. Like, really, like I said before, 99% of the time, underneath those patterns of behavior is low self-worth. They've lost connection with themselves. They've lost themselves in the process of life. And when you don't see, understand, know, like, appreciate yourself, then it's easy to make bad choices. And that is a bad choice. But you're stuck.
I fully agree. And look, at the end of the day, look, these alcoholic brands that play on our culture, play on the marketing and advertising around, they do need to hold themselves quite accountable, because their whole narrative of how alcohol is a part of us to have a fun time and relax and unwind with friends and sit back, have a drink, relax, enjoy, unwind, that type of narrative. It's like you're putting a stage 5 carcinogenic toxin into your body, and it has so many negatives.
Yeah.
And it's just completely polarizing on that. And I just think, look, they need, I would like to see that type of advertising narrative or the actual laws changing around that, which would be great. Anyway, we don't need to get too political, Sarah.
No, exactly. But when you think about it, only good can come from not having alcohol in your life. Nothing negative can happen from leaving alcohol out of your life.
Yeah. Alcohol withdrawal is harder than heroin withdrawal.
It's very, very physical. It's a serious thing. If you're drinking 2 bottles of wine a day and you go cold turkey, it's dangerous. You do need to have support around that or wean off. But the weaning is very hard if you don't have control. And most people who are drinking that much don't have control. So but alcohol withdrawal is dangerous. It can cause death.
Oh, absolutely. And what I find so baffling, though, when you're looking at these 60, 70-year-olds that have been drinking throughout their entire lives, and they've suffered many different alcohol withdrawal scenarios, they're getting back into it, but are they just the anomaly? A, they're still alive. B, they're still drinking. C, they've been putting in this quote-unquote stage 5 carcinogen throughout their whole life. How have they not got cancer?
Yes.
So is the jury still out? If alcohol was such a toxin and a carcinogen, that'd be dead right now, right?
Well, yeah, but also you don't know the state of their health, like actually their health or their mental health, or really how they feel and like inside of themselves. So, they might still be battling on, but they might not be very healthy.
Right. No,
and obviously, ultimately, your health is your wealth. And, so when you're mentally, emotionally, physically well, you are healthy and you get to enjoy the journey of life. And that's really what our ultimate goal should be, right? Being present, enjoying the life, feeling happy, feeling connected, feeling good within yourself, but having physical health. Because when you haven't got your physical health, your quality of life is stink.
Very, very well put, and I agree. If we were to break down like what stress is exactly, is it simply negative thoughts that create negative emotions, which in turn release the harmful chemicals like the cortisol?
I describe it as pressure. So the pressure comes from all the thoughts, and all the doing, because we're so busy doing all the things, right? And all the thoughts. I describe it as the winding up of a spring, because it feels like that, like it's quite a metaphor almost, because it feels like that in your body, the stress, anxiety, overwhelm. We go through our course of life and we have things that happen to us and we don't express our emotions and we have more stress and we have more balls in the air and life throws us more curveballs. It literally causes our nervous system to dysregulate. But what it feels like inside is a very tightly wound spring, because you hold it in your body, the tension, and we have a lot of gut problems when we're really stressed and overwhelmed and anxious. Your gut is your power center. The winding up of a spring, the dysregulation of your nervous system, which then impacts your immune system, how your mind is operating, so much follow-on effect. But the feelings, the thoughts, the behaviors.
Yeah, and we're simply just not meant to be in that state. We are meant to be in the state of homeostasis, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can cope with being in that state for short bursts, but we're not meant to be in that state long term. Being in prolonged stress causes dis-ease in the body, which then creates disease, chronic illness. Whether it's
That's interesting to unpack there, eh? That whole disease, which is disease, yeah, because the way they break that down though, right, is when you look at the word ease, everything's easy.
It's
Added
yes,
added dis onto that, and that's
yeah,
uneasy,
not easy. Yes,
and we're not meant to be. And same with depressed. They say that your body's seeking deep rest.
right. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very, very fascinating to unpack. Hey, Sarah, as you know more than anyone, really, because you work with people and their brains a lot, and I found this very fascinating after doing a little bit of research. The brain is the body's most complex organ, and there are around 86 billion neurons in the human brain, all of which are in use. Each neuron communicates with many other neurons to form circuits and share information ultimately. And a proper nervous system function involves coordinated action of neurons in many brain regions. So I did this sort of comparative thing after reading that. And so I just wanted to present it to you. And this is me doing very layman's terms. And look, I'm no doctor or psychologist.
No, well, neither am I. A doctor.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
This is just sharing either anecdotal information. Yeah. That's fine. But so for some context, and for me to understand, if I take a human from a tribal area in Africa and then I compare it to myself who grew up in a very traditional middle-class environment in a provincial town of Hawke's Bay, our neurons and circuits and information and thoughts comparatively will be completely different and thus having completely different thoughts and feelings. Is that
yes, because right. So until we're at the age of 7, like we're literal sponges. You're basically in a state of hypnosis, a state of suggestibility, which is why children can develop so quickly in those first 7 years of their lives. But the experiences they have in those first 7 years of their life create the basis of their subconscious mind and the beliefs and how they view the world. So, you know, there's a saying, I'll show me the 7-year-old and I'll show you the man. So different environments, different experiences, different things to see, feel, understand, going to create different subconscious beliefs, feelings, emotions, understandings, perspectives, which then create different things at the conscious level.
Powerful stuff. Hey, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you, Sarah Kelt, for coming on the show. Hey, and if people need to find you, where can they find you? Shout out the website and your social
mindsettransformations.com. So mindset transformations with an S.com. Lots of information on there about what I do and the program and online programs and how to work with me one-on-one.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the Luke Farr Show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. And you've certainly done that today. We've shared some very insightful and valuable information. I just want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. I'll just hit stop record.